for the Rapid City Stevens Raiders. Starting at defensive end, number 78, Jonathan Coronado. At defensive tackle, number 60, Brennan Boosie. At nose tackle, number 56, Tyrese Morris. At the other defensive end for the Raiders, number 76, Wesley Folsom. And one linebacker for Stevens, number 8, Joe Spray. Another linebacker, number 50, Isaac Gelson. The other linebacker, number 27, Caden McNabb. Starting at strong safety for Stevens, number 6, Drew Messer. At free safety, number 7, Colton Hartford. At one corner, number 13, Philip Walls. At the other corner, number 10, Joe Weber. The head coach for the Rapid City Stevens Raiders, Mr. Scott Hagan. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's meet the starting offensive unit for your Roosevelt Rough Riders. Starting at center, number 68, Mason Amato. At right guard, number 67, Sam Cole. Starting at left guard for the Riders, number 62, Caleb Dwyer. At right tackle, number 63, Kurt Solberg. At left tackle for the Riders, number 66, Ben Cole. At split end, number 3, Devlin McManus. Starting at flanker for the Riders, number 2, Jacob Betancourt. Starting in the slot, number 6, Tyler Feldkamp. At tight end, number 9, Adam Kusler. The running back for Roosevelt, number 24, Maki Mohammed. And starting at quarterback, number 12, Brady Dannenbrink. The head coach of the Sioux Falls Roosevelt Rough Riders, Mr. Kim Nelson.
Good evening, everyone. It's opening week in Class 11 AAA football in South Dakota, and the top 2 teams from a year ago will be hosting a doubleheader tonight. Good evening from Howard Wood Field in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Welcome to this presentation of high school football on KLRN Sports. My name is Eli Kadoon. I am a member of the Roosevelt High School Sports Broadcasting Team. Tonight, the Roosevelt Rough Riders will be hosting the Rapid City Stevens Raiders in the first of 2 games. The Sioux Falls Washington Warriors will face the Brandon Valley Lynx in tonight's second game. The Rough Riders, who are ranked 3rd in the preseason poll by members of the South Dakota media, finished runner-up to 3-time defending champion Sioux Falls, Washington in last year's Class 11 AAA championship game at the Dakota Dome in Vermillion. In fact, the Riders' only 2 losses came at the hand of Washington, who defeated Roosevelt 41-7 in Week 2 last year. The Rough Riders' other loss was the 20-19 defeat in the championship game. The Riders opened the 2017 season with a convincing 53-13 win over Rapid City Stevens in Rapid City in a game that saw the Riders accumulating 483 yards in total offense. Rapid City Stevens, who was unranked in the preseason media poll, finished the 2017 season with a 35-17 loss to Brandon Valley in the opening round of the playoffs. The Raiders finished the 2017 season with a 5-5 overall record. So that's the recap of last year so far. So here's the coin toss for who has possession first.
Sioux Falls Roosevelt won the toss, elected to defer. First kick in this direction.
Welcome back, everyone. It's a nice, partly cloudy day in Sioux Falls right now. It's 80 degrees out with a humidity of 58% and a wind speed of 9 miles an hour coming out of the west. So it's actually a pretty good night for football compared to last night. Last night was not a great night for that. So as we saw, Roosevelt won the toss but deferred to Stevens. So they are going to kick off to Stevens to start this game off. So we are going to see how this kickoff goes for this both teams. Oh, well, I might have spoke too soon about the weather being nice. The kicker for Roosevelt is Devlin McManus, who continues to struggle with the ball staying on the tee. Let's see. Oh, no, they're going to get... Okay. So now they have someone holding it. Oh, let's look at this. They have Nathan Moon holding it now. And we are off. It's a high kick from McManus, but it's fielded. Ooh. It's a very nice tackle there by Nathan Moon on the sideline at the Raiders 35, who will now send out their offense. Let's take a peek. So we have, for an offense here, our main guys that we need to look at. Our quarterback is Colton Hartford, who has fumbled the snap right off the start. Made a wild pass, and it was nearly intercepted there by Nathan Moon again. Look at that. So that was nothing there. That was Rapid City Stevens got really lucky there. They fumbled the snap all the way back to the 15 almost. We have a man in motion. They hand it off up the gut, and Roosevelt stuffs it. So that's the main thing right now is if Rapid City Stevens can't get past so far, they've only had one attempt really, but Roosevelt's defense didn't even really waver at that point. They didn't even waver to the man in motion. So we got to see if Rapid City Stevens will be able to get through Roosevelt's defense whatsoever, if they'll be able to get down the field, because they have struggled so far. Another high snap. He laterals it. A flea flicker, and it's almost intercepted there by, let me take a look, by Doug Wells. Sorry, by Doug Wells almost there. And Stevens is going to send out their punting unit. So a nice trick play there at the end to try and get some yardage from Rapid City Stevens. So we'll have to see how this game plays out with the funny plays that they're trying to throw at Roosevelt, who has sent back Tyler Feldkamp to receive the punt. Now Rapid City Stevens is kicking into the wind, so we'll see how good this kick goes right now. Ooh, and there's a flag. I'm guessing that's gonna be a false start on Zane Steffman. Oh, sorry.
Dead ball. Neutral zone infraction on the defense. Number 2. Penalty. Out.
So we're thinking that was a neutral zone infraction by Ethan Winter. So Stevens moves up another 5 yards. And the punt is off. Feldkamp takes it. He signaled for a fair catch, but he's taking it. And he's still going. He's breaking tackles here. And he gets pulled out of bounds over there by, I believe that was Joe Weber who pulled him out of bounds from Rhapsody Stevens. So it was actually a good punt return there for Tyler Feldkamp, and they will switch sides now. Switch, I guess, offenses. So they have Brady Dannenbrig back for quarterback. Roosevelt does, along with a few new faces. They have... Oh, and the snap is off. It's a pass to Tyler Feldkamp. And he just did a move, and he might go all the way here. He's still going. He puts him... And he gets tackled at the 15 there by number 7. Colton Hartford took him down there at the 15. It was a very nice run there by Tyler Feldkamp. It was a 52-yard pass there by Dannenbrig to... About 52-yard run there for Tyler Feldkamp. Roosevelt has 2 wide. They go up the gut with number 24, who is Mackie Mohammed. He only got about a yard out of that. So we can still see Roosevelt still likes the passing game a lot, but they're still trying to switch it up with runs here every once in a while. There's a flag on the play.
Six. 5-yard penalty.
We aren't sure who that penalty was on what player that was on, but we know it was on Rhapsody Stevens, so the Riders are going to move up an extra 5 yards there. So these are the small mistakes that do come into play towards the end of a game or in a close game. And they make a pass, a screen to number 24, and there we go. There's 6 points for Riders. That was a 10-yard touchdown there for Mackie Mohammed, who's a senior this year, but so far so good for the Riders. This is starting out probably how they're planning this to go. So we got to see what Rapid City Stevens does in retaliation to this and see if they change up their tactics at all or try and expand their offense. And that looks like it was wide, so the Riders missed the extra point, so it's still just 6-0 now. So small things, like I said, come back in close games, so we could see how that missed extra point might come into play towards the end of the game if this is a close game. So we'll be right back, and we'll tell you a little bit more on this kickoff. Welcome back to Howard Wood Field. It is still 6-0 with 9:52 left on the clock. That last drive from Roosevelt was 3 plays, 68 yards in total, and it took 1 minute and 1 second for them to get those 3 plays done. And the touchdown was a 10-yard pass from Brady Dannenbrink to Maki Mohammed. So right now the Riders are going to kick off again to the Raiders. So this is just like the start of the game. So what you got to be thinking of maybe as the Rapid City Raiders is, okay, this is the start of the game. It's just we're in a little bit of a hole now. But they do catch a little bit of a break where the Riders did miss that extra point. So that could maybe, I don't know if that would boost my morale necessarily, but they could maybe use that as some sort of a fuel for this drive and see if they can get past Roosevelt's defense, which hasn't gone very well for them, their last drive at least. And the kick is up and to number 9, who is Brandon Kewell, and he is tackled at the 30-yard line by a horde of Riders. So the Raiders start in about the same position that they were last time. So now we got to see what adjustments that they've made to maybe get past Roosevelt's defense, because their run plays did not work very well and their pass plays did not work very well. They almost had 2 interceptions in their 2 pass plays. So we'll see how this goes. So they snap the ball. There's almost a fumble. He sends it. And that's good coverage there by Nathan Moon on Brandon Keel. Sorry, I'm not very good at these. Keel on Branson Keel. So that's the kind of stuff that Rapid City needs to try and break through, is that good coverage by Roosevelt, try and catch them off guard with some of their stuff there, because they had a nice flea flicker in there, but it just didn't work out. So we'll see, because they set out trips again on the right side. They fumble the snap, and that's a sack there by Sir Caleb Doyer. So they lost 12 yards on that play. And as we can see, this will start to take a toll on Rapid City Central. So we just they have to figure out ways to get their snaps off better right now, because almost in those 2 plays they had one fumble and almost 1 near fumble. So this is, Rapid City Central has to pick it up a little bit. Like now, they just fumbled again. Sets it deep. And it's picked off there by number 10, Ethan Winter, the 6'1" senior from Roosevelt. And this is another instance where Rapid City Central needs to stop Roosevelt's defense, because Stevens? I'm saying Central. I keep saying Central. I'm sorry. Rapid City Stevens needs to figure out a way to stop Roosevelt's defense, because they're putting too much pressure on their quarterback at the moment. So Roosevelt has Dannenbrink in the back now. They send 4 men. They send it to Tyler Feldkamp, who makes another move, sending it, and he is gone. 1 play. That was a 61-yard pass from Dannenbrink to Tyler Feldkamp for another touchdown. Tyler's first touchdown this season, I believe. Tyler Feldkamp's first touchdown. Well, of course, it's the first game of the year. So, now we have to see if Roosevelt will make the extra point, because last time they missed it. We got to see if they can dial it back in. So this is another crucial moment in the game. And it looks like he missed it again. Oh, he made it. Wow. That was a good kick. Wow, that deceived me. Well, now it's 13-0 with 8:39 left on the clock. And so Riders will kick off to Stevens again. And we'll see how Stevens reacts again to this last outing against Roosevelt so far. So we'll be back in just a sec. The ball would be nice. So we are back here at Howard Field. The Riders are up 13-0 against Rapid City with 8:39 left on the clock. That last drive by Roosevelt was one play, 61 yards, and took 12 seconds. And it was a 61-yard pass from Dannenberg to Feldkamp for that touchdown. So that's 2 touchdowns there in under 2 minutes there for Roosevelt, and Stevens has struggled immensely with this defense. And they're going to get the kickoff from Devlin McManus again. And that is to Branson Keel again, who goes down at the 20. I think he got tripped up there. So we got to see a little bit of a morale booster here for Stevens here, because they're having a very hard time getting through this Rough Rider defense, and you can tell that they are struggling immensely. Maybe not immensely, but they're struggling to get through this Rough Rider defense, and it's taking a toll on their quarterback because of how much running and how many hits he has already taken in this game, and we're not even halfway through this quarter. So he takes the snap, makes his receiver, Bridger Nesbitt, tripped there, I believe. It looked like that was a good play by them. He just tripped there a little bit. So those are the small things that they need to look for there. That was an open man, he just tripped. So I mean, those are the small things that they need to be looking for. Those are those small victories that they need to kind of be working for here to try and get a little bit of an opening here in the Roosevelt defense. And so Colton Hartford is back again, tries to hand off, fumbles it, and gets sacked here by 5 Rough Riders. And that was a loss of 4 there for the Stevens Raiders. And this is where the O-line needs to come into play here with Stevens, because it did not look like there was much resistance there from the O-line to stop the Rough Riders there. So we'll see how this game plays out, see if Roosevelt's defense gets tired as they keep moving along in this game. But we'll see, because they have trips here out on the left side. And Hartford is going to take it, and he's got himself a few yards there. Looks like close to 6 yards. So he was pulled out of bounds there by Mr. Isaac Oreen from Roosevelt, but he still got 5 or 6 yards out of that play. He might have even got more than that. So those are the first yards I think that Rapid City has seen in this game so far. So those are the positives that they need to take away from this so far, is that they've gotten through a little bit. And that's a bad snap from Stevens, but they still get it off. Not quite back to Tyler Feldkamp, but they do touch it down at the 46-yard line, where the Rough Riders will now take over on their own 46-yard line here. And they have 2 out wide on the left side. And I believe that Stevens might have taken a timeout. So Stevens just took a timeout. So I'm guessing that they're going to try and recoup themselves here, try and shut the Riders' offense down, try and get that down. And when they can finally figure that out, then they can get their offense moving here. So we'll be back in just a sec. Welcome back to Howard Wood Field and this presentation of high school football. My name is Eli Cadoon. Tonight's broadcasting is done by KLRN Sports. Our camera operators are Ben Schumacher, Jeff Little, and Steve Johnson. You can also watch this game anywhere on the Howard Wood Field YouTube channel. We no longer have the cube, so we have a YouTube channel. Look at that. So we believe that was a heat timeout there for the what the heat is like right now. It's actually a really nice day out. It's just they need to take a heat timeout every once in a while. So Roosevelt's back with Brady Dannenberg in the back, and they stopped it again. Oh, they send out number 32, Jaden Bourne, with an equipment issue, and send in Brody Erickson in his replacement there for just a play. So they can get Jaden Bourne's equipment figured out. So Roosevelt gets set again. Excuse me. And they snap the ball to Brady Danbrigg, and they fumble it. It's the first mistake we've seen from the Roosevelt offense so far. So Rapid City Stevens might be able to use this as a little bit of fuel to their fire. It looked like a bobbled handoff there from number 26, and they send in Makee Muhammad, and they send him right back. Are they gonna? And they're gonna send Jaden Bourne back in. I'm not sure what's going on here, but the refs are not having whatever their running back changes are here. So this could be another part of Roosevelt's offense that's having issues, the confusion that's going on right now. And they snap it off to Brady Dannenberg and go for a pass. And it's almost intercepted there by number 10, Joe Weber, on Stevens. Looked like it was a little bit of a miscommunication between Brady Dannenberg and Devlin McManus. So it's looked like this is the first set of issues that we've seen happen from Roosevelt so far in this game, with all the confusion with the running backs and all this. Now it could be wide receivers. And they send a man in motion now. It's Tyler Feldkamp. And they have him open, and he just misses the ball there. So this is the first time that we'll have to see Roosevelt punt the ball. So this is a big thing for Rapid City Stevens, who haven't stopped Roosevelt in more than 3 plays. This is a big thing for them to stop them and get them on a 4th down and make them punt. So this could be a swing in the momentum for this football game. And they have 2 men back in the backfield. Oh, there's a timeout there by Roosevelt. So we will be right back, I think. Maybe not. We'll be right back when this timeout is over. And we'll see how this punt from Roosevelt goes. Their first punt. Hello, good evening. We are back at Howard Wood Field with this game between Roosevelt and the Stevens Raiders, and they just punted the ball over here onto they stop it on the 35. That was a 22-yard punt there from Devlin McManus, so not a bad punt, but this isn't quite the best field position that Stevens has had yet, but it's some of the best that they've had so far. So we will see how they use this to their advantage as of right now, because they now have this a little bit of momentum in their favor now that they stopped Roosevelt in 4 straight plays. And Roosevelt took another timeout, I think. I'm not sure what's going on here. So we'll be right back and inform you on what's going on here. With 6:32 left in the first quarter, Roosevelt leads Rapid City Stevens 13-0 still, but Rapid City Stevens on their 35 as they snap the ball off and run it up the gut to, who is this? To Philip Walls. And that is, like I said, some of the first yardage that's the first yardage almost that Rapid City Stevens has gotten all game. So they might finally be breaking through or being successful and getting through this Roosevelt defense, because in their last few drives they have not been successful, as now they send a man in motion. Brandon Keel was in motion, and I believe there's a flag on the play. It looks like they're motioning over to Roosevelt.
Dead ball. Good pip. Still deck down.
I believe that was a neutral zone infraction on Roosevelt is what it looks like, because they're moving the ball up 5 yards. I'm not sure on who it was, but it looks like Roosevelt is starting to maybe weaken a little bit in their defensive side, which will help Rapid City out a little bit here. And just as I say that, Hartford almost gets tackled there as he sends one deep almost to be completed to Jacob Hafner. To Jacob Hafner. So they're getting a lot closer on their plays now. As you can tell, they have a little bit more confidence. They're getting a little bit more out there with their plays. And they're starting to see a little bit more success with these plays, because they almost completed a very long play there, a very long pass, almost to the 15-yard line. So this is a good sign for Stevens so far, as they send another man in motion and run it up the gut. But Hartford was stopped right there. He was kind of smothered a little bit. So it's fourth down, but that's the most that we have seen Rapid City Stevens move the ball in this game. So this is starting to look better for Rapid City Stevens than it has since the start of this game. So this is a big morale booster. It should be, at least for them, and getting things done here. And they're going to punt it. Roosevelt sends Devlin McManus back as Stevens fumbles the snap, and they lateral it to Jackson Steiner. Looked like a fumbled snap there. That's another thing Rapid City Stevens needs to work on, is their snaps. They have not had very good snaps at all this game. They've fumbled quite a few. So that's another issue that they're having. So let's see how Roosevelt comes back from being shut down in 4 plays their last drive. See if they come back with any more fire or passion. Maybe not passion, but more fire than they had in their last drive. I believe they have Jaden Bourne in the back behind Dannenbrink, and they hand it off to him, and he looked like he was stopped, but he kept on going. But that looks like he lost a yard on that play. So that was a good job there by Stevens' defense, shutting down Roosevelt. Kind of turned the tables on them. But Roosevelt looks like they have put in McKee Morrison now. McKee Muhammad in for Jaden Bourne now. They have trips on the left side here as Dannenberg rolls to the right. Looks like he might run it. And he goes for Tyler Feldkamp is what it looked like, but failed to complete. So this is the first time that we've seen Roosevelt's offense not have success so far in the game. I know we're not very far in, but they've had a lot of success scoring 2 touchdowns in a total of 4 plays in their first 2 drives. So this could be an important shift in the game, like I've said before, for Rapid City. And if they can use this to the best of their ability, that would help them. That would be very good for them in the long run in this game. As Dannenberg goes for Tyler Feldkamp, completes it, and he is in for his second touchdown of this game, of this quarter, let alone. So just as I say, that was a 40-yard touchdown pass from Dannenberg to a 40-yard pass and completion from Dannenberg to Tyler Feldkamp. So just as I was about to say that they should use this momentum to their advantage, Roosevelt flips the tables on them and scores with 2 in a row for Tyler Feldkamp. And Devlin McManus is back again for the PAT, and it looks like that was good. So it is now 20-0 with 4 minutes left in the first quarter. So we will be back at kickoff, and we'll see how Rapid City Stevens responds to this. Welcome back to Howard Wood Field, where Roosevelt leads 20-0. That last drive there by Roosevelt was 3 plays, 39 yards long. 39 yards long. Took 52 seconds, but it was a 40-yard pass there from Dannenberg to Feldkamp because they lost a yard on their first play, I believe. So, kind of an interesting setup there. So McManus is back again to kick off for Roosevelt. And we will see how Rapid City responds now that they are 3 touchdowns in the hole against Roosevelt. That's a good kick up by McManus. And that is received by Bridger Nesbitt as he is tackled by both Brady Dannenberg. Brady Dannenberg got in there. He was tackled by 2 people. Brady Dannenberg was one of them. So they are down on their 20 now. Actually, they're 21. And they're in the same position that they've been this whole game. They've kind of had their backs against the wall, always being pretty deep in their own territory. Rapid City Stevens has been. So we'll see if they'll be able to emphasize their ability to get past Roosevelt's defense here, like they do here, where Hartford completes to Nesbitt for a very good gain. Actually, that was a 19-yard gain by them. Oh, a 20-ish yard gain, but it looks like Nesbitt is hurt. Oh, maybe he just had a helmet issue. Never mind. Maybe he's not hurt. He just had a helmet issue, maybe. Never mind, he has to go off the... Oh, equipment issue, sorry. That is also, I just realized, or I was informed, that was Rapid City Stevens' first down of this game. So, building momentum slowly is what Rapid City has started to do in this game, and it's starting to wear on Roosevelt's defense as they continue to build this momentum. So, we'll see how Hartford... Oh, and there's a flag on the play. Let's see what this is on.
Encroachment. Fence. Hard penalty.
Okay, all I got out of that was that it's a 5-yard penalty because it was encroachment on Roosevelt. So that's a free 5 yards for Rapid City. They'll take that all day, I bet. So let's see how Hartford and the rest of Rapid City Stevens deals with this as he gets the snap. And he sends, as they beat a man, it looked like McManus blew his cover there on, I can't tell who that is, but he blew his cover. That was a big opening there for Rapid City Stevens. I'm wanting to say that was Tegan Heckel, but I could be incorrect there. But McManus blew his coverage on his guy. Maybe that was actually Branson Keel. So he blew his coverage on him, so that was an important point. As they screen it to Keel, and he bobbles it, and is then tackled by Nathan Moon, which is their second first down in this game. Rapid City Stevens is making progress here, taking chunks out of this football field here. So with 3:07 left on the clock in the first quarter, let's see what they start to do with this. Now that they've broken into Roosevelt territory. It's the first time they've done that today, too. They send a man deep. McManus didn't blow his coverage on that one. That was intended for Sam Marchianato. It was an attempt, I guess. It was I don't know what to say. I'm lost, I guess. I'm zoning out, my bad. That was a good pass. It was in the right direction for Rapid City Stevens right now. That's what they need to start thinking about, is getting downfield more than what they have been since they're in this position. They need to emphasize it, as they have another almost wild snap. And they have Hartford running as he throws the ball, trying to get away from it. Look like 3 Roosevelt defenders. He was back at their 35 almost. Either their 30 actually. So he was back a long ways there. It could have been. It's 3rd down and 10 now for Stevens, but that could have been a lot worse if he got tackled way in the backfield where he was. So let's see. Roosevelt has 4 men in the backfield. 4 split out. As Hartford sends one deep to a wide open Nesbitt. He was untouched. That was a 48-yard pass there, and he wasn't even touched. So this is a big moment for Stevens right now. He basically could have walked into that end zone. No one would have come close to him. I mean, so they've got to emphasize on this, like we've said in the past, is that they need to emphasize this as much as they can and try and catch up as much ground as they are able to right now, because the more they can catch up right now, the better it will be for them in the long run. As they have their kicker, Corbin McHaffey. And there's a flag on the play. That was a bullet. That's hit the scoreboard. That's out of here. That's not even anywhere near the stadium. That's crazy. I heard that he kicked a 50-something yard field goal last year. That's freaky from a high schooler. What grade is he in? He's a senior, but still, he was a junior when he did that, so imagine what he can do as a senior. I can't imagine kicking a 50-something yard field goal. That'd be a stretch. So that drive was 5 yards, 7. Oh shoot, wrong one. Sorry. That was 5 plays, 79 yards. Took Rapid City Stevens 1 minute and 18 seconds, and the scoring touchdown was a Nesbitt 48-yard pass from Hartford. So, and they blocked the kick. Roosevelt's defense, I think that was Adam Kusler that got in the backfield there and blocked that kick right there. So that is another very important thing that Stevens, for both Stevens and Riders, it boosts the Riders' morale, and they saved themselves an extra point there. And Stevens now lost a point from that because they let a man in. So this is the small things. I know I say this a lot, but the small things are what come into play in these closer games. So we will be back, and we will see how this kickoff goes for the Riders. This is the first time they're getting the kickoff, so we'll see how that goes when you get back. We are back at Howard Field, and the first time that the Raiders get to kick off here. So now McHaffey gets to show off how good of a leg he has in his first kickoff of the day. And Roosevelt has Devlin McManus and Tyler Feldkamp in the backfield there. Let's see how this goes. He sends it all the way back to inside the 10-yard line, and Feldkamp fields it and is going up the sideline and gets tackled out of bounds at about the 44 by, I want to say, Tegan Heckel, but I may be wrong because it's a long ways away. But solid 35-ish yard run there from Tyler Feldkamp. So if they get Tyler Feldkamp the ball in the open field, he's quick and agile. He's very difficult to tackle. And Dannenbrink almost gets tackled there in the back. He is taken down eventually by, I think, Colton Downey. He's pulled out of bounds there. And that's a loss of 3 yards. So first time that Rapid City Stevens has gotten a sack on the Riders so far, so things are starting to look up for the Raiders in this game. As Dannenbrink snaps the ball, rolls out to the left, and has a wide open, not really wide open, but an open man, number 84, Caden Jordan, but throws the ball just a bit short. So we can see that Roosevelt's pass game has been very good. Their run game hasn't been very strong, but they've had a very good pass game so far. That's what's gotten them all 3 of their touchdowns. So we have to see who can get open, basically, or who can make their man blow coverage, because that's basically the biggest part for Roosevelt right now is trying to get a man open, because as soon as they get that, they seem to use that to their advantage as much as they can. As they have Brady Dannenbrink throws that over to, I believe, Tucker Wolf, who gets about 2 yards on that play. Oh, no, he got about 4 yards on that play, but it's still 4th and 9 because they lost 3 at the beginning of this drive. So for the second time in this game, Roosevelt has to punt, as they have Devlin McManus punted off here to Nesbitt of Stevens, who bobbles the ball and is tackled on their own 7-yard line by Jaden Bourne. That was a 50-yard punt there, so that was a very good punt for Devlin McManus right there. So this is the deepest that Stevens has been in their own field so far, in their own side of the field. So we'll have to see how they respond to being this deep in their own territory, and see how Roosevelt responds. See if they get more ornery about it or get more stubborn with certain things. So we'll see how this goes, as Hartford starts in his own end zone. And as there is there's a flag on the play. That might have been pass interference over there by, I'm not sure, Max Miller, I think is what I just heard. There might have been a little bit of too much shoving there from Max Miller, as they do signal for pass interference on Max Miller, I believe. So that'll be a 10-yard penalty, and I believe an automatic first down for the Raiders.
On the defense, number 25, 15-yard penalty, results in a first.
Excuse me, that was a 15-yard penalty, not a 10. So that's a free 15 yards. So now Rapid City Stevens has a little bit of room to breathe. They don't have to be so worried now. So they snap the ball to Hartford as he gets a deep one off to. He had a very good pass there to Nesbitt, but it was broken up there by, I believe, number 23. I think that was Amir Muhammad, but maybe I am wrong on that. Maybe I was wrong. That might not have been the right person. Oh, excuse me, 22. So that was Tucker Large, actually, who broke that up. So very good job on the Roosevelt defense there. That was a very good pass from Hartford to Nesbitt up there. That was a great job there by Roosevelt. As they have another wild snap. Hartford throws to Nesbitt again, and he's taken down after about a 6-yard gain. So we can see that both Roosevelt's defense has come a little bit more alive now since they let that touchdown through. And you can tell that Stevens has become quite a bit more lively than they were at the start of this game. Now that they've scored once, and now that they've started to get ground on Roosevelt's defense, they've started to show a little bit more, been more lively, I should say, in this game so far. And there's a flag on the play. Oh, it's a delay of game, I believe.
Delay. Offense. Penalty.
So that's a 5-yard penalty on Stevens, so they go back to the 23-yard line. So we will have to see how they respond to this now, since they lost pretty much the progress that they just gained from that pass play that they got to Nesbitt. It's another wild snap to Hartford as he sends one. And they have another flag. Hartford sent one up to Kiel, and it looks like it might be another pass interference play over here on, I think it was, I'm not going to say anything until they say it for sure, but I think I saw the
defense, number 4, 10-yard penalty, results, first down.
So it was actually a holding play on Joey Houts. So that's another first down for Stevens. That's kind of a break for them. And Roosevelt's defense just trying to get off the field at this point, because they've been on the field for an extended amount of time, the most that they've been on this field so far. So we will we'll have to see how tired Roosevelt's defense gets after being on the field for this long, as there's another high snap there for. That was a very good job there by, I believe that was Maki Muhammad, their running back, who just got in there and broke that up. It was another good pass from Hartford, but it was just broken up there by Muhammad. So those are the kind of things that Roosevelt's been very good at, is getting in there and breaking up passes, but sometimes they get a little bit too physical and give up a penalty here or there. But it seems to work for them decently so far. So they have Hartford back, as it's a high snap and he fumbles it, and And there's 3 Rough Riders in the back already as he passes it over here to number 6, Drew Messer. And he gets back almost. He got back to the line of scrimmage, so there was no gain on that. But it was a good way of getting out of the mess that they were in there. And I heard that it was Tucker Large, I believe, that got the tackle there. I guess he did not quite make it to the line of scrimmage. They lost a yard on it, and that is the end of the first quarter. So, a lot of small things that we've learned about both teams in this first quarter, and there's still a lot more game to play, so there's nothing that's really set in concrete, but we've seen Raiders come back pretty well. So we will be back when the start of the second quarter and get to the Raiders, who are back on offense. So. Welcome back to Howard Wood Field in this presentation of high school football. My name is Eli Kadoon. Tonight's broadcast is produced by KDL and Sports. Our camera operators are Ben Schumacher, Jeff Little, and Steve Johnson. You can also watch this game anywhere, anytime on the Howard Wood Field YouTube channel. So that play right there was a good throw from Hartford to Keel, or was it Doney? That was a good throw over there, but it was broken up, so it's now 4th down for Rapid City Stevens. So it's been a very good drive for them so far. They've gotten a few free first downs, but still overall it was a good drive for Rapid City Stevens, but they'll have to punt it off, so they send Mr. McHaffey into the backfield, and it looks like they might have gotten someone to jump, but we will see. They said that was encroachment. I believe that was on Mohammed. That's what it looked like, at least. So they got an extra 5 yards, but it's still 4th down. And they just put 12 minutes back on the clock, which I don't believe is right. So they added time back onto the clock when they were not supposed to, so they're back down to 11:54. And they have Tyler Feldkamp in the backfield like they have since the very beginning of this game, and they have a low snap there to Haffey. And Feldkamp picks this one up right on the sidelines as he gets a block over there, and he's running, and he gets past a man, and he's on the sideline. He's got blockers. He might go all the way here. He has to get around McHaffey, and he does. He just got a 72-yard punt return there. That was pretty interesting to watch there. You could see that develop as he ran from one side of the field with no blockers and all of a sudden had 5 or 6 in front of him. So that was a big swing there for Roosevelt, showing off their blocking ability there. So now they're up 26-6. So we got to see if they make this extra point. But Tyler Feldkamp put on a few moves there and made his way all the way up to the end zone and he didn't hold much back there. He just he went in there and no doubts. So McManus is back for the kick, and it looks like that was up the middle. Yep. And so it's now 27-6, and we are 26 seconds into this second quarter. So that's been the start of this quarter so far. So we will be back for the kickoff from Roosevelt to the Raiders. So. Come back, I can do this dance. Welcome back to Howard Wood Field. Just a quick recap of stats here from Rapid City Stevens. Colton Hartford has 5 completions out of 16 attempts for passing, has 80 yards in passing yards, and has 1 passing touchdown. Also has 1 interception and has carried the ball 3 times for -8 yards rushing. So thanks to Brent Bowen, Dexter Payne, and last year's homecoming queen Karen Morales for that help with stats there. As we come back to Devlin McManus about to kick off to Rapid City Stevens. I think Rapid City just comes in with the same mentality that they've had so far in this past few drives, and as they kick it off to Neil, as he, I believe, just runs out of bounds at the 23 or so. Maybe, nope, never mind, just the 20. So, not the best kickoff return, but there have been, that's not the greatest one, but I mean, it's kind of hard to follow up after that Tyler Feldkamp touchdown right there. I'm still kind of in shock about that. That was pretty fascinating to watch how that went down. But they're on their 20 now, so let's see how Rapid City Stevens responds to that punt return, see if they try and retaliate in their own way, shape, and form, as Roosevelt takes another timeout. So their last timeout of the game. Not of the game, sorry, of the half. Sorry, that would be terrible if it was just the half. So we'll be back after this timeout is over. Welcome back to Howard Wood Field. It looks like this timeout is officially over as they break out of their huddles. So we'll have to see what Rapid City Stevens, does now that they got that little 30-second break or so to deliberate about what they were planning on doing, as they now have 3 out on the left of the field, and that was a nice completion by Hartford to Doney. He only got about 2 yards, but that was a good job of Doney by hanging on there, because that was a solid hit by the Roosevelt defender over there. And they send another 3 out onto the left side, and they have 2 on the right side, so they have no one in the backfield, as they have a wild snap And Hartford just jumps on it on like the 1 yard line or so. So that might not have been the best option. Well, that was actually probably the best option he had there. Otherwise, he probably would have given up a safety. So smart thinking on his feet there by Hartford. Was it? Maybe it was Heckle that jumped on it. We think it. We're not sure who jumped on it, but it was smart thinking on their feet there for jumping on that ball, because if not, they probably would have given up a safety back there, which would not have been good for them. As they snap it, they do have Heckle in. They don't have Hartford in anymore. Heckle is now their quarterback. So this is interesting. They just completed a pass there. I'm not sure to whom, but they no longer have Hartford in as quarterback. They now have Heckle in the backfield. So this is interesting to see where this is going. Now they are in their second string is what it looks like for quarterback. But they will. Stevens will now have to punt the ball away, as it is 4th down and long. It looks like 4th and 18 or so. So they have Feldkamp back in the backfield again, and they have a very short punt here. And Feldkamp's going to leave that one be, as number 24, Jacob Hafner, goes and picks up that ball at about the 47 or 48 yard line there. So Roosevelt's going to start on their own 48 now. So we got to see how Roosevelt responds now that they just got the ball off a punt. I'm guessing that they're going to respond just like they would in a normal situation, is keep passing the ball. But we'll see, as Dannenbring is in the back and shotgun as he hands the ball off to Mohammed, who looks like he gets a few yards. Looks like he got about 4 yards there, maybe 3. Looks like closer to 3 yards. As they handed the ball off there to Mohammed. I'm not sure who he was tackled by there. It looked like a swarm. Maybe it was Ryan Brink, is who I've been told was the starter of that. But they fake it to Mohammed, and they pass it over to Tyler Feldkamp for a first down on the 40. So, and they have an injured man, is what it looks like on the field right now. I believe that is number 52. Number 52, who they do not have. So, we are not sure who this player is, but it looks like he's down with a cramp or something in his right leg, as he gets the trainer to work on him. So we'll be back after he is up and moving again. We are back. That is, I believe, Caleb Dwyer, who is down, who is now up and walking off the field. So now Roosevelt's got a first down on their 40, as they have 2 men off to the left, which is Tyler Feldkamp, and they hand it off to Mohammed again, and it looks like he gets like about 2 yards there. So they're still chipping away with the run game here every once in a while, showing that there's still some life in that. So Roosevelt still has 2 men split out to the left, Tyler Feldkamp and Reese POTUS, on the one side, and number 2, Jacob Bettercourt on the other side, on the right side. Dannenbring rolls out to the right and throws the ball away as he is swarmed by a few Raiders there. Looked like number 10, Joe Weber, and Ryan Brink were the ones to kind of swarm him a little bit there. So it has been noticeable that Rapid City has been able to get through Roosevelt's offensive line a little bit better now. So it might be showing wear and tear on Roosevelt's O-line right now. But they still look to be holding up in a decent shape. So we will see, as they still have the 2 men off to the one side. They still have Tyler Feldkamp, and they have 2 men on the right side also this time, as Brady Dannenbrink goes for number 9, Adam Kusler, on the right side, but he was in man-to-man coverage there and was not able to catch that ball. So it is 4th down and 8 right now, and we're going to see if Roosevelt's going to decide to try and go for it at this point, which seems like the best option because they're on the 38-yard line, so it'd be kind of pointless to punt the ball. So they send Dannenbrink back out, still have 2 men split out on each side, and we can see the Raiders' defensive line is kind of just rushing. And they sacked Brady Dannenbrink. 4 of them got past the whole line, so it obviously worked for him pretty well because Dannenbrink just lost 12 yards on that play, 11 yards. He's back at their 50, so Stevens will start at midfield right now. So that's actually the best ball position that they probably had all game so far, is starting on the 50-yard line. So we'll see how they're going to respond to this now. Well, I say that too much, but we will see what their plan of execution is now, since they still haven't put Hartford back in. They still have Heckel in the backfield there, as they have 1 man on the left, 2 split out on the right, and he sends a deep one over there to Keel, excuse me. He sent a deep one over there to Keel, but he was in good coverage, I believe, by Tucker Large, who was on man-to-man coverage with him. So it's still looking like Roosevelt is trying to hold the man-to-man coverage with Stevens, as they have most of this game. And it seems to have worked out fairly well for them because Stevens has not been able to complete very many times off of their passing. As they do a screen now, Heckel to number 24, Jacob Hefner, who is smacked immediately and is now on the ground holding his back. And I believe that number 58 was the one to hit him. Caleb Paulson. So number 24 is down right now. That is Jacob Hafner. He's grabbing his back at the moment. And that is not a good sign when you are walking over there and your receiver's grabbing his back. So we will have to see how this impacts, because Hafner has caught quite a few of their passes. So we'll see how he does as he limps off the field towards the Rapid City Stevens bench. And we'll be back when he gets over to his sideline. Welcome back to Howard Wood Field as we come back to Rapid City Stevens having 3 split out onto the right. And it looks like they Hefner went over to number 13, Philip Walls, but he was covered pretty well there by Jonah Weems. So these are all factors that play into the rest of this game, because Roosevelt's defense getting off the field actually fairly quickly. I'm not sure that... I think they got a 4-and-out there. And now Rapid City Stevens is going to have to punt again in this game. So we'll see how this goes, since their last... Maybe it wasn't their last punt. Maybe the punt before, or maybe, never mind, a few punts before, was when they got in and had to lateral it because they fumbled the ball. And now they got to delay a game. Stevens was having a few guys that were not on the field quite yet. Oh, never mind. They call a timeout. So we will be back when this timeout is over. And we are back at Howard Wood Field with 7 minutes and 30 seconds left in the second quarter. McHaffey, I'm sorry I've been saying his name wrong most of the game, gets a high snap and jumps on the ball back at the 29-yard line. And that is excellent field position for Roosevelt to be starting in because they're on Stevens' 29-yard line. So they're in great field position right now. And that's the biggest issue that Stevens has had so far is these wild snaps that keep kind of plaguing them. It's kind of shutting their offense down a little bit because they can't get a ball off in time by the time that Roosevelt is in the backfield. So that's another thing that they need to start looking out for, as Dannenbring is still in shotgun with 2 wide on the left, as he hands it off to Muhammad, and he gets a solid 4 yards out of that play and takes a Stevens defender over with him. So it's good to see at least that both of them have had some success with their run game. It's just more prevalent that Roosevelt has had quite a bit more success with their run game than Stevens has because of their solid defensive wall. And as you can see, Stevens' defensive line shifted there, and they do a pitch out to Muhammad as he keeps going, and he runs himself right into the end zone. But there is a flag on the 20-yard line. That could be a holding call on Roosevelt, possibly. And it looks like Muhammad is also down in the end zone, which is not a good thing when you come and look at your starting running back is writhing in pain in the end zone. So it's not the best situation to be in if they have a holding call.
Pursuit 3, 10-yard penalty made, second down.
So we just heard that was a holding call on Kurt Solberg, as Mohammed is still down in the end zone there. It looks like it might just be a cramp. Hopefully it's just a cramp because no one wants to see you go out as you score a touchdown. But it's looking like they're just massaging his leg out currently. But if it's something worse than that, it would not be a good for Roosevelt because he has been a very big part of their offense so far. So we'll be back when he is up and moving. And I believe that Muhammad might have walked off under his own power, but I might be wrong about that. Oh no, they pulled him off to the side. Never mind. So he's still down, which is not a good sight. But back to the game. It looks like it might not. I'm guessing that's not a cramp because he would not still be down if that was a cramp. Well, maybe it is actually because they're grabbing rollers to roll him out, at least I believe. But that looks like it's his calf or something that's cramping up real bad. So hopefully he gets back in the game here soon. But Roosevelt was called for a holding play there. So they went back 10 yards on that. But let's look at some of Roosevelt's stats so far. Brady Dannenberg has had 6 completions out of 12 attempts, has 175 yards passing, has 3 touchdown passes, 0 interceptions, 3 carries, but negative 18 yards. So not great stats for him. But we'll get back to the game now as they snap the ball to Dannenberg, and they hand it up the gut to, I believe, Jaden Bourne, who looks like he got about 7 yards on that play. 6 yards, excuse me. So now that Muhammad is out, they have to put in a few of their filler guys to try and pick up where he left off. So we've got to see how they keep going as they hand it off to Jaden Bourne again, and he keeps going, and he might have a first down because a bunch of his teammates just came up and shoved him right forward. So he just got a first down. So now they're on the 11-yard line. So at this point, they should be thinking, like, we need to get a touchdown now. Or they could maybe they're going to probably try and milk this clock as much as they possibly can and not give Rapid City Stevens much of a chance with the ball. So we'll see what they do as they run it to Jaden Bourne again, who gets down at probably the 1-yard line or maybe the half-yard line even. So he gets another first down is what it looks like. So it's first and goal on the 1-yard line from Jaden Bourne, who has all of a sudden started ripping holes in this Rapid City Stevens defensive. Obviously with help from the O-lineman, but still he's mowing his way through these people as they have a sneak to Brady Dannenberg, who gets a 1-yard touchdown into the end zone. And that's that. So it's now 33-6, and they send out the kicking unit where McManus will have to make another field goal, or try and make another field goal. So we'll see how this goes. If he misses this field goal, then it would be 33-6 still, but if he makes it, it would be 34-6. So it's looking pretty promising right now for the Riders, even though there's still 5 minutes and 25 seconds left for the Raiders to use. They still have the possibility of coming back and stopping them and coming back and getting even another touchdown. So as that kick was good, it's now 34-6, and we will be back when it's time for the kickoff. Welcome back to Howard Wood Field. That last drive there from Roosevelt was 5 plays, 24 yards. It took 2 minutes even, and it was finished off with a 1-yard run from Brady Dannenbrink into the end zone. So Roosevelt is kicked off for however many times back to Stevens, and that looks like a swib kick, as it is taken by Keel, and he is tackled on the 25-yard line by, I believe, number 45. There is no 45, excuse me. Maybe it was 32. Jaden Bourne might have gotten in there and tackled him, or I might have lost him in the confusion there. But he was taken down at the 25-yard line, and Rapid City Stevens still has Heckle. So I'm not really sure what's wrong with Hartford, but it does not seem like he is going to come back in this game, as they have had Heckle in for their last 3 or so drives that we have noticed. As they snap it off and they throw it, he makes a good pass over to Philip Walls, gets about a 5 or 6 yard, actually closer to 7 yards, on that play. So it seems like Heckle is doing just fine as filling in for a quarterback for Hartford. As Stevens now has trips on the right side, and it looks like, and as Heckle rolls out to the right and makes a deep throw to the out of bounds to his man out there, I believe it was Colton Doney out there. So it's 3rd and 2 now. This is the debate here, is where you either go for a run or for a pass. Personally, I would have had a lot more success with their passing and with their screenplays than they have with their running so far. But you never know. And I believe that Stevens has just taken a timeout, because they just took their second timeout of the quarter. So we will be back when they are off of this timeout. Welcome back to Howard Wood Field yet again. So, we are back with Stevens as they have come off their timeout, and it looks like they're going to go for a pass, as they have 2 men on each side. And they swarm Heckle right there. And oh wow, he did catch that. Wow, Keel that was a nice catch. That was a diving catch there. That was a 24-yard completion there for Heckle. That was a extremely good catch by Keel. That was a diving grab. So it looked like the Roosevelt defender got a little bit lazy, but I could be wrong. But Stevens now has 3 men onto the right side, and it looks like Heckle, he just got sacked in the back by, it looks like, Devontae Murphy. That looks like it was about a 2-yard loss. So, Roosevelt still showing some liveliness with 4 minutes and 6 seconds left in the half. But there's sometimes showing a little bit of laziness in some of their plays, like they don't play to the whistle for sure, or they don't quite finish their tackles, and that will eventually come back to bite them, because they could have had a 4th down by now on the last play if they had finished the play. So small things like that, like I say a million times in a game, do come back to bite them. And they get off the snap just before the delay of game, and it looks like Heckle might get this ball off, as he has missed. He was hit like 3 times and didn't go down. So It's still 3rd and 13. But you never know. They could throw a 60-yard bomb. It would not be 60 yards, excuse me. It would be closer to maybe 40 yards and score a touchdown in the last 3.5 minutes of this half, for all we know. But they set out 3 men onto the right side again, 2 men onto the left. As Heckle is still in the backfield, looks to the right, sends it over there, I believe, to Colton Nesbitt. I think he sent it over to Colton Nesbitt. Bridger Nesbitt, sorry, I was combining names there. Bridger Nesbitt, but was incomplete there. Threw a little bit too far, too deep for Nesbitt there. But it looks like, I don't know if they're going to send out their punting unit, I'm guessing. They're not going to go for it on the 46-yard line, but it could put Roosevelt very deep into their own territory. It could put them on their own, inside of their own 10, which would be a pretty bad situation with only 3 minutes and 24 seconds left in the half. But I have seen Roosevelt come back from their own 2-yard line and score a touchdown from it, so you never know. But that's a high punt off to the right side, and it is going to fall inside of the 10-yard line. It's going to stop at their 6 or so, as Devlin McManus just let it go. So that was a 40-yard punt there by Mahaffey. There we go. So a good punt by him, and it was really good placement, put on the 6-yard line for Roosevelt. So that's going to be extremely hard for them to come and march 94 yards down to the end zone on the other end. But I have seen crazier. So we will have to see how Roosevelt responds to being this deep in their own territory as they send Tyler Feldkamp in motion and do a sweep off to the right side, and he breaks a few and almost runs into his own man and gets roughly 20-ish yards on that. You got 21 yards actually on that play right there. So just like that, go from their 6-yard line to the 20 to the 27. So I mean, it's not impossible for them to go all the way back to the end zone. They still have 2 minutes and 53 seconds, but it will be very difficult, I think, as they send it up the middle with Jane Bourne, and the ball comes out, and Brady Dannenberg jumps on it under a pile of Rough Riders, so the Rough Riders recovered it there, but very scary situation as they were inside of their 25 when they fumbled it. So could be interesting to see what they do here now that they lost it down, now that they're back an extra 3 yards from the line of scrimmage. They snap it to Brady, rolls out, does an option to Jaden Bourne, gets a block from Tyler Feldkamp, and is tackled at about the 36-yard line there. So about 1 or 2 yards away from a first down. We'll have to see if they go no huddle here, if they try and do quick offense. It's what they're looking. That's what it looks like they're gonna do, as they have a man out wide. I believe that to be Tucker Wolf, or never mind. Excuse me, Jacob Betcourt. As they fumble the ball again, and Jaden Bourne picks it up, but he falls on the 32. So that is a loss of 5 yards there. So they're gonna send out their punting unit. So it looks like Roosevelt now is having issues with their snapping. Same way that Rapid City Stevens has the whole game. And there's only 1:13 left on the clock, so we'll see how energetic Stevens gets, or how many, or if they do no huddle more than they have been in this whole game when they get this punt, as it is sent over to Mr. Keel, and he signals for a fair catch on the 30-yard line. So they'll start at their own 30, and they'll have to work within less than a minute of time to get themselves into the end zone here, and try and make this a little bit closer of a game, as it is still 34-6. So it looks like there's a little bit of confusion as to who's supposed to be on the field right now with Stevens, but they have it figured out, as they have Trips on the right and 2 men out on the left, out wide on the left. That was a quick snap to Heckle, excuse me. And that was an incomplete pass there, to, I think that was Sam Marchionado, as Heckle threw a bullet there straight to Heckle, but he was covered fairly well there. So we'll have to see as they send Trips out to the left side now and 2 men onto the right instead. And they snap the ball, and he goes, looks like he's looking for, he was going, I believe, for Sam Marchionado, but he overshot him a little bit, and it looked like it was going to go to Brenson Keel. I keep trying to say his name wrong. To Brenson Keel, but still incomplete. So it's 3rd down and 10 right now with 44 seconds left. And at this point, I'd still be trying to go for their passes, because it's the only issue with this is that they keep stopping the clock, which is okay for them right now. But if they give up the ball to Roosevelt, that would not be good if they kept stopping it, because as there's a flag on the play.
Dead ball. 5-yard penalty. Still 3rd down.
Perfectly when he's trying to speak. So the mics tend to have impeccable timing of when to cut out. But I think that was, a false start on Rapid City Stevens, because they moved 5 yards back. So it's now 3rd and 15 as they snap the ball, and Heckle looks over, and his man trips. He had a wide open receiver in, I believe, Colton Doney, and he was in open field, but tripped and fell at about the 50-yard line. So that was a 25-yard pass. So it was a great pass, a wide open man where Roosevelt blew coverage, but he just tripped and fell, which would have been a for sure touchdown. As they have Trips out on the left, he sends one high and over as Tucker Large intercepts that. And he's going to try and keep that ball. He's going to keep running with it. He's all the way up to the 50. He's going to keep going. He's bouncing off men and just got tackled by number 74, who is Ty O'Connor on Stevens' 42-yard line. That was a 40-yard return right there for Tucker Large. And look at that. They have 11 seconds to work with. They have 42 yards to go. Excuse me, they have 38 yards to go. So Roosevelt has a lot of time to work with right now, but the only issue is they do not have a timeout, so they have about 2 plays before they're out of time. And Brady Dannenberg looks over and overshoots his man, number 3, Devlin McManus, who looked like he was on his way to the end zone, looking up at that ball, but it was just out of his reach a little bit. So they still have 5 seconds to work with here. They'll go for another pass. But still, if they don't close this off, if they don't get a touchdown, it's still not the end of the world, because they stopped Rapid City Stevens from scoring a touchdown, which is as best they could have got, as Brant Dannenberg throws it over to Jaden Bourne, who makes a move, and it looks like he's going to make his way into the end zone right now for a 38-yard completion and for a touchdown. So, just like that, Roosevelt turns the Raiders' offense into their own offense and scores a touchdown off of it. And now they have the extra point. Great blocking on that play right there. There was 5 guys, and all of them did their job. Even 63 there at the end of the play. I don't know who that is. Kurt Solberg. He did his job. He shoved Jaden Bourne into the end zone there. He looked like he was going to trip and fall, but the extra point is good. So it's 41-6 at the end of the half as they head back into the locker rooms. So we'll have to see how the Raiders respond to this, if they're going to be more fired up, if they're going to be mad about how this quarter ended, or if they're going to be more sad, or I don't want to say sad, but if they're going to be more lazy or more careless about their decisions because of it didn't ending the way that they wanted it to. So that's the first half. That was an extremely long first half. Hopefully the second half is a little bit quicker than that, but we will be back at the start of the second half and hopefully finish off this football game. Welcome back to Howard Wood Field, where the Raiders are now kicking off to Roosevelt, where Tyler Feldkamp fumbles it off the kick, and he does a little spin move and gets leveled over there by a Raider. I'm not sure who it was. Let me take a peek here. We think it's Corey. We think that's Corey McAfee. Mahaffey. Sorry, I keep saying his name wrong. Excuse me. But anyways, the Riders are starting on their own 10-yard line over here. If you haven't noticed, the weather's kind of shifted. It's gotten really cloudy out as they hand it off to Mohammed, who levels a guy as he's on his way to almost a first down. So not too bad after coming out of being injured for the rest of the half. It was what looked like a calf cramp, left calf cramp, excuse me. So it looks like they handed off to Muhammad again, but it looks like this time he might have stayed where he was. Oh, he gained a yard, he actually gained a yard there. So now it's 3rd and 2 on the 18-yard line. And now we got to see what Roosevelt decides to do here as they send 2 out on both the left and the right side. And they send Tyler Feldkamp in motion and do a sweep off of him as he gets around to the outside and gets tackled at about the 27 or so by number 13, Phillip Walls. So there's their first down. Now they got to decide. They're probably going to start passing the ball more now from here since it was short yardage there. And it looks like it because they send 3 out to the right side over there as Dannenberg rolls to the left and hits Devlin McManus over here on the left sideline into about the 45-yard line as he is taken down by number 10, Joe Weber of Rapid City Stevens. So it's been kind of a flurry so far. Not much wasted time here from Roosevelt. A lot of no huddle and a lot of trips and pairs onto each side as they go to pass a lot. As they screen now to Tyler Feldkamp, and he breaks a tackle and gets almost around another guy. As Phillip Walls takes him down. So Roosevelt is wasting no time in the start of this second half of the game. We're only 57 seconds in, and they've already done 3 or 4 plays so far, which is moving pretty quickly right now for Roosevelt, as they've done 3 or so in maybe a minute at best. And they now do a screen off to the right side to number 2, Jacob Betancourt, who gets shoved out of bounds actually might have stepped out of bounds at the 43-yard line. So it's now 2nd and 4, as Roosevelt is now looking like they're going to need a play. They still have trips out to the right side and one man, Devlin McManus, off to the left over here out wide. As they do an option to Muhammad, who breaks a tackle and gets up to the 26-yard line and gets them another first down. The 3rd first down of this drive, I believe. So far, and Muhammad is down again, which is not looking good for him at the start of this 3rd quarter. We are not even 2 minutes in. Well, we're just over 2 minutes in. No, we're not. We're almost 4 minutes in. We're just over 3 minutes in, into this quarter, and he's already down again. So it's not looking very good for him at this moment. So we'll get back when he is up and moving again. And we are back. Muhammad is up and moving again. I'm thinking it looks like it's a left thigh cramp now. It's where he's grabbing on his leg. But he's still walking off the field, so we'll see how he does the rest of the game. They might sit him, make sure he doesn't get too hurt, but they might play him. We never know, I guess, with Roosevelt sometimes. So now they have Jaden Bourne in for Muhammad, who has done pretty well for them the last few times, as he has already scored a touchdown for them on the last 5 seconds of the first half. And they send Tyler Feldkamp in motion over here, and it looks like they send Jaden Bourne up the middle with the ball, and he slipped and fell right at about the 20-yard line. So that's about a gain of 4, actually, not 5, but so now they have 2 men off to the right side, and they still have McManus out wide over here on the left side. So, and they have 2 men in the backfield. They have Feldkamp and Bourne as they send Bourne in motion. And they do an option, and Dannenberg decides to keep it and keep going with it, and is eventually taken down by 2 Raiders, Drew Messer, and I'm not sure who the other person with him was, but Drew Messer was one of the guys in on that tackle over there. So a lot of quick offense right now from Roosevelt. There's been no time for the Raiders to breathe at this point. They aren't really messing around much at the start of this third, and they screen it over there onto the right side as they fumble. It's ripped out of his hands, and it is running back. I'm not sure who has the ball right now, but he ran all the way back to the Roosevelt 43-yard line. That, I think, was Philip Walls that ripped the ball out. I'm not sure who the receiver was for Roosevelt there, but he ripped the ball out of his hands right there. He was sitting there and just ripped it out of his hands and took off. Everyone just kind of stood there. So, yeah, that's a big thing there because Roosevelt was just mowing down the field, and they just decided to snatch the ball right out from underneath them. This is some funky-looking weather over here. We got what looks like a rainstorm that's starting to move in, so we'll see how this goes. But this is a good completion from Heckel to number 23, I believe, so Jacob DeSmit. Oh, never mind, sorry, 22. So Austin Pruitt was the receiver on that one. It was a solid 7-yard, 6-yard gain on that play. So we'll see how Heckel and the rest of the team goes with this after getting a ball here. And they throws one up high over to Nesbitt, and it's just out of his reach, as he was covered fairly well there by Roosevelt, number 35, Doug Wells, who did a good job of covering him there. So it's 3rd and 4 right now. I could see Raiders deciding to go for a pass here, as they have 2 men off to the right side and 3 men over on the left as they snap it, and they do a screen over, and they're short as Heckel connected with Doney over there on the far left side for the Raiders on the far sideline. So now it is 4th and 2, and it looks like the Raiders... Oh, excuse me, someone is down for Roosevelt. We aren't sure who it is quite yet, but we think it might be Tucker Large, but we will see how he is doing in a little bit when we come back.
Officials timeout. Heat.
Welcome back. That was Tucker Large over there that was down. Looked like it was just a cramp or something because he got off and jogged off the field. So they took their heat timeout also while we were gone. So we're going to have to – we'll see how that goes. Now that heat timeout is out of the way, they're just going to keep rolling with this as it is still 4th and 2 for Rapid City. We'll have to see what their plan of execution here is. They have 2 men out on, and they just got Roosevelt to jump here. So it's now first down.
Defense. 5-yard penalty. First down.
So it is now first down for Rapid City after that the offsides or the encroachment by Roosevelt there. So that was a nice job there by the Raiders there as they send a man in motion, number 12, and then then Heckle is promptly sacked by pretty much the whole D-line of Roosevelt. It was, I guess, led off by Devontae Murphy there. But he was followed in hot pursuit by the rest of the defensive line. So not a fun situation to be in if you are Heckle. But good for Roosevelt as it is now 2nd and 19, 2nd and 20 or so, actually. So they have a bad snap over here, and it looks like Heckle goes down again, and this time it's Devontae Murphy gets the assist, but this time it's 62, who is Caleb Doyer. Doyer was the main man on that sack there. So 2 sacks in a row. You got to think this has to take a toll after a little bit on Colton Hartford is back in now. He was back in, actually. So now we have Heckle. So that might have been Hartford that was sacked there. And now we have a high snap. And it's still out. The fumble is still out. And it is picked up. It is picked up by number 7, Joey Otta. That was a 33-yard touchdown there by Joey Otta, the senior. Who picked up the football and just ran it back 33 yards for a touchdown. So there you go. Stevens rips the ball out of Roosevelt's hands, and Roosevelt promptly does the exact same thing back to them and runs it back for a touchdown. So you got to think all the morale, the momentum that Rapid City Stevens just had just kind of got shut down right there. And we have a storm cloud passing over us currently, it looks like. Maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong. But anyways, back to the game. It's the PAT now, and it's 47-6 right now for Roosevelt. So we have to see if McManus makes this, and I mean, it hasn't seemed. I'm not going to say anything because I'm a believer in the jinx, so I'll say he's had good luck or so. Maybe that just jinxed him, but they've had. I think they've only missed their first PAT, and other than that, they've made all of them. So we'll see how this one goes for him. Once. I'm not sure what They're waiting for it. Oh, Rapid City just took a timeout, actually. So we'll be back after this timeout is over and get the PAT underway. Welcome back to Howard Wood Field and this presentation of high school football. My name is Eli Kadoon. Tonight's broadcast is being produced by KLRN Sports. Our camera operators are Ben Schumacher, Jeff Little, and Steve Johnson. You can also watch this game anytime and pretty much anywhere on the Howard Wood Field YouTube channel. So check it out. And here comes the PAT from Devin McManus, and it is good. So it's 48-6. Roosevelt's going to kick off again to the Raiders. So, I mean, Roosevelt's been in this situation quite a bit throughout this game, and they've kind of helped shut down the Raiders. They've done a very successful job, other than the one time the Raiders did score a touchdown, which they exposed a lot of the flaws that have been seen, I guess, throughout through Roosevelt's defense. They exposed their flaws very well in that drive and scored a walk-in touchdown. Basically, they weren't even touched on that touchdown. So if they can keep doing that or do what they did in that drive and repeat that throughout the rest of the game, they could have a possible chance of coming back, even though it doesn't seem like it's that close of a game. It does not take much in a football game to make up 40 points or so, because it's happened before, I believe. Maybe not, but it's not impossible. So if they just get back into the groove that they had earlier in the game when they scored their first touchdown, they will be in very good shape for coming back if they hold off Roosevelt's offense. But anyways, back to the kickoff here from Devlin McManus, who will be kicking off now. It's a good kick over to number 6, Drew Messer, who gets up to about the 23-yard line before getting tackled. So, few quick Rapid City Stevens stats. Tegan Heckel has been in the majority of the time instead of Hartford. He's had 7 completions out of 14, 76 yards, no passing touchdowns, 1 interception, 3 carries, and negative 28 yards. So not looking great on stats-wise, but still having a decent night as he hands it off to Austin Pruitt, who heads right up the middle for about a 5-yard gain, maybe closer to 6-yard gain. And it is downpouring. Oh my. The sun is out. It is pouring. That was unexpected. So anyways, back to the game. Heckel, just threw a ball up to his receiver. I believe it was Colton Donnie, excuse me. Doney, sorry, I said it wrong. He threw it a bit high, but this is another factor with the rain, is the ball is going to start getting slippery. So when you think about it, it's going to be much harder for Roosevelt to do passes. It's going to be much harder for Rapid City Stevens to do passes, so they're going to have to run a run game heavily after this if it keeps raining like this, because this is a rain for you. There's like a rainbow out already, and it's just... And there's an option there from Heckel to Pruitt, but Roosevelt was on that in no time, and caught him in the backfield, and they lost about 5 yards on that play. So they'll send out the punt crew here. So they'll send out the punt crew. Stevens will, and Roosevelt is going to have Tyler Feldkamp, go in the backfield to receive this punt. And Mahaffey just kicked it, and Tyler Feldkamp is off to the sideline like he usually does, and is eventually pulled down by a few Rapid City Raiders. So yeah, it has stopped raining now, but that was bizarre. So yeah, it's still a factor that the ball could still get slippery here, but it's not as big of a factor as it might have been before. And the Rough Riders snap the ball, and they hand it off up the middle to, I'm not sure who had the ball there. That might have been Jaden Bourne. Maybe not. Maybe that was actually Brody Erickson who had the ball there. He got a gain of about 2 there. So, but it does appear that the wind has also picked up. So, yeah, that's another factor as we see a flag on this play here. That was on Rapid City Stevens.
Encroachment. Number 8. 5-yard penalty. Still second down.
So that was on Rapid City Stevens, so that's another 5 yards for Roosevelt. But the wind has definitely picked up here. So that is another factor in this game too, as they throw a screen out to number 48, who is Austin Wynn. And he lost about 4 yards on that play. So they're about back where they started. So Roosevelt's probably going to go for another pass play here, as they have one guy set out wide and 2 in closer on the left side for them, the close sideline, the near sideline. And they have, they don't even have Brady Dannenberg anymore, and they have Javon DeVille, he's a sophomore. So they took out Dannenberg and put in DeVille. But now, since they had an incomplete pass there, now they have to punt it away. So they'll send Devlin McManus back again to punt the ball. And he will be kicking into the wind too. The wind is from the west still, but it is a whipping now. It is moving. And he gets a good punt off, a high one, and they take it. That was Nesbitt. He took that one from. He took a fair catch on that one, and they are about on the 30-yard line now. So, so now they'll start on Rapid City Stevens. Will start on their 30. And now they have to work back so now they have to work back basically from where they started on their last drive, kind of. And can see a lot of switching around on the Roosevelt defense. And there's a high snap here from the Raiders offense as Heckel goes to try and make a pass at the last second to Nesbitt, but fails. As Tucker Large, who is back in, went and broke that up. So Tucker Large has proved to be a fairly big asset. He's broken up quite a few big plays for Stevens what could have been big plays for Stevens by his pass coverage. So this quarter's flown by. There's only a minute 35 left as they throw it, as Heckel throws it over to Donnie, and for no gain, as he was tackled by Tristan Johnson. So still 3rd and 10 from the 30. At this point, Rapid City's still going to go for I'm guessing they're still going to go for another pass, as they have 2 set out wide, as they send a wide open Nesbitt and blown coverage by Tucker Large over there. That was a 70-yard completion from Heckel to Nesbitt. So that's just that was partially blown coverage, but that was an open opportunity that Rapid City Central didn't take for granted, and they used it to their advantage. So Tegan Heckel, we'll get back to some stats for Tegan Heckel, who now has 9 completions for 18 attempts. Now has 146 yards, 1 passing touchdown, 1 interception, 3 carries, still negative 28 rushing yards, and 1 fumble. As they're meeting this, they got the extra point. So now it's 48-13. So if they do what they just did there again and keep doing that the rest of the game, they're still in this thing. This game isn't over yet. So Roosevelt can't start shutting down yet. But back to the stats. Tegan Heckel, like I said, I guess I finished off on him having 1 fumble. But Nesbitt has had a pretty good night also. Not really sure what his stats are. I guess he's had 4 receptions for 144 yards and 2 touchdowns. So, so thanks for the stats there from Brent Bowen and Dexter Payne. And, it's, and also Karen Morales, I forgot about that. So far they've improved their stats a lot, I guess. From the stats, it's improved a lot by the start of this half. So if they just keep up what they're doing at this point, they can still come back and win this game. So for the second time in this game, third time actually, Mahaffey, will get to kick off to Feldkamp, and Devlin McManus and the rest of Roosevelt's special teams. So, and here they go as he gets a good chunk of that one and sends it into the back of the end zone. So Roosevelt will start on their 25, I believe. Never mind. Actually, they start on their 20. So they'll start on their 20, which is probably the worst position. That's actually not the worst position they've been in this whole game, but they're still deep in their own territory, so they'll have to not have as much confusion. And they don't have Dannenberg. They still don't have Dannenberg. They still have DeVille, I think, in for them as quarterback. And number 26, Brody Erickson, is now in for running back or halfback for them. So, they have, I wouldn't say put in their secondary, but they've put in quite a few of their non-starters at this point in the game, just to get them a little bit of time. And he makes DeVille makes a good pass over there on the far sideline for Reese Poats. Makes a good attempt. Actually, that was actually a very good. That was a very good pass coming from. I wouldn't say coming from him, but that was a Actually, a really good pass. So, as they have 2 men out wide, he goes again to number 82 this time. Skylar Coatman. Cotman, maybe. So, that was 16 yards, apparently. 16-ish yards is what they're saying. Is about what he got. So, that's actually a really good gain for DeVille here. As they snap it again, he goes to Erickson this time, and he gets about 2 yards on that run there. So just taking small hunks out at this point, as that is the end of the third quarter. That quarter went by so much faster than the other two. So we'll be back at the start of the fourth and final quarter of this game. And we are back now with at Howard Wood, and as we come back, we watch number 40, Milky Longoya, run through a few guys and get a first down for Roosevelt here. So, we looks like they have a few guys moving around here for Roosevelt. A bit of confusion as DeVille is trying to get things organized here, as they have 2 men split out on each side, on each sideline. And DeVille rolls to the left and takes it for himself and gets about 3 yards out of that run. Maybe not quite 3 yards, but... Oh, excuse me. Never mind. He got no gain out of that. I was 3 yards too far. So it's 2nd down and 10. And it looks like Stevens has picked up their pass coverage a little bit more than they were earlier in the game. So it's making it a little bit difficult for DeVille coming in as, I think this is his first time as quarterback, coming in. And he now does an option, and they fumble it. And it looks like Stevens might have recovered that. It's Stevens' ball. So, and that was recovered by none other than Colton Hartford. So now the Raiders will send out their guys. Will send out their team. And will send out their offense, excuse me, not their team. Their offense. And they'll go to work now. So if they keep doing what they've done with the past few times they scored a touchdown, they'll be just fine, as they send number 12 in motion. And, they sent Sam Marchiado into motion, and they handed it off instead to number 35, Ryan Brink. And he actually lost 2 yards on that one. So, it looked like a little bit of a confusion issue, a little bit of a play issue there. It looked like I got a little bit confused, but it's still only 2nd down, so they have time. And they air one out to number 2, Colton Doney, who got a hand on it but could not keep a hold of it. So Heckel's making some good throws over here. He's just got really good pass coverage. Roosevelt has really good pass coverage, and it's just been right on the sideline where he can't quite complete it. So it may not seem like the stats might not be the best for him, but he's actually had some very good throws in this game. So, and we can see that he's got a wide open Nesbitt over on the sideline, on the far sideline, who gets about 7 yards, maybe 9 yards. Who gets up to about the 46-yard line, but it's 4th down, so they're going to go for it. It's 4th down and 4, so they're going to go for it. Excuse me, 4th down and 3. As they have 2 men set out wide on each side. Confused. I'm not sure if there was some confusion between Hackett and Marchiato over there, but Marchiato just stopped, and Nesbitt, Heckel thought that he was just going to keep going or something. I don't know what happened there, but it's a turnover for the Riders, so it's 1st down and 10 on their 47. And they've got quite a bit of time to work with here. They got 10 minutes even to work with. And they still have DeVille in there with quite a few other guys, Erickson and some other new faces that we haven't seen in this game yet. So, and Erickson just got pummeled right there. He lost probably 5 yards on that play, maybe not quite, but he got pummeled. He went to go up the gut, and that didn't work out very well. So they're going no huddle, and they're basically going to try and keep up what they were doing earlier, and they have trips on the closer sideline as they send a man, and he has a wide open, and there's a flag on the play, but he had a wide open Skylar Kaufman, but there's a flag on the play there. Kaufman.
Downfield. That penalty's declined. 3rd down.
So they had an ineligible player downfield, I guess. So, and they declined that. So, they send trips out to the far sideline this time instead of the near, and it seems. Okay, here we go. So they have trips out on the far sideline. They have one out on the near sideline. And let's see how DeVille handles this. Looks like a blitz is coming from Stevens, which it does. And DeVille throws it right into the hands of Hartford, who basically ran in a big circle and got about 5 yards out of that interception. So it's a turnover for the Raiders, and they end up on about the 44-yard line, the Roosevelt 44. So that's I think that's DeVille's first interception, but it is. So now Roosevelt's defense is back out there, and it looks like they might have put in some of their secondary guys there too. It looks like there's a jump here on someone.
Dead ball. Ball start. Offense. Number 74. 5-yard penalty. Still 1st down.
So that's a false start on Ty O'Connor. So that puts them at 1st and 15. That puts them 5 yards in the hole right off the start. So not the best way to start off a drive, but there's worse ways to start off a drive, I suppose. So Heckle airs one out to his receiver over there, and Joey Hughes, made a big play there and deflected the ball right before it got to Heckle's guy. So it's still 2nd and 15. There was nothing on that. There was nothing on that play, but so they still got trips out on the far sideline, and Heckle has a lot of time and takes it up the middle, but there's a flag on the play as Heckle runs out of bounds at the 42-yard line, but there's a flag, and it looks like they signaled towards Rapid City Stevens, but we will see.
Offense, number 64, 10-yard penalty, the spot of the foul, and 2nd down.
So that was Cam Jackson, who was the person that had the hold there. So now it is currently 2nd and 31. So they are a very long ways back. They must have had, that was a 15-yard penalty. They must have had a face mask, I guess. So that was a 15-yard penalty there. So they're 20 yards back from the line of scrimmage, the original line of scrimmage. But anyways, Heckle airs one out over here. Ooh, he airs one out to Colton Doney, and Tucker Large is there to break that up. So now it is 3rd and 31. So they have a very long ways to go if that was not already prevalent. They are 31 yards away from their line of scrimmage. They're 31 yards away from a first down. So Heckle's going to have to air one out here and get a man open that's deep and just go for it, because they're back at their own 40 right now, so they need to get moving here. And he airs one out, but it's way too far for his man, Sam Marchiato. So it's 4th down. They're going to have to punt it. So they send out, oh goodness, Mahaffey. I got it right for once. They send out Mahaffey to punt it. But that's the good thing with Rapid City Stevens is that Mahaffey is such a good kicker that they could pretty much be wherever on the field, and he could put the other team in not optimal position, just like now. As they fumble it, nearly Tucker Large almost fumbled the ball there. He bobbled it and dropped it and almost gave it up to Stevens there. So that was a 39-yard punt, so it's actually a pretty good punt there. And that was into the wind. You got to realize that was into the wind. Even though there's not much of a wind, there's still into the wind. So the Riders start on their own 26. They have trips out on the far sideline. It looks like they're going to do a screen to number 48. Who, let me see who that is. Austin Wynn, who gets about a yard or 2 yards on that play. So, and they're doing no huddle against, that's what Roosevelt is known for, is their quick offense is thinking on their feet. So, we'll have to see what they come up with as they now send 2 wide on each side. As they snap the ball here, but DeVille hands it off to Austin Wynn again, and he gets tackled and loses looks like he lost about 8 or 9 yards on that play. So, right now, Roosevelt's kind of the same situation that Stevens was. They have to air one out here, buy DeVille a little bit of time here, so that way he can. And it doesn't look like they're doing that. It would have been best if they bought him some time, but now they're on their own 10, so it's now 3rd and very long. So it's 26 yards, 4th and 26. So they're gonna have to punt it basically from their own end zone right now, because other than that, they're too close. So Devlin McManus is gonna have to make sure that he gets this off and he gets it off quick, because if not, then they're in trouble. And that's a very good punt, and he does a fair catch here. That was Sam Macchiato, excuse me. That was a 34-yard punt. And it's an official timeout for a heat. So we'll be back after this heat timeout, and we'll see how it goes. Welcome back. We're back as Heckle sends Macchiato into motion, and looks like he kind of lost the ball or handed it off there up the gut, and it did not go very well. So they lost a yard on that run. I could see Rhapsody Stevens starting to switch over more to doing more of the passing and stuff, because runs have not been their friend. Running at the ball has not been their friend most of this game, because Roosevelt has such a strong defensive line. So I could see them instead trying to pass the ball more, and they don't even have Hecklin anymore. They have a different quarterback. Joe Weber is now their quarterback, and he's circled back. And he's just run to the opposite side, and he got blockers, and he's going to score. That was a 47-yard touchdown, and I don't know what just happened there, but he just turned around and threw it in reverse and said goodbye and left. Like, he flipped a Yui on the football field. I mean, look at that. He stops, turns around, and I don't know what just happened, but that was just about as fascinating as Tyler Feldkamp's touchdown. That was almost more fascinating. So yeah, that just happened. So now they're still back. I'm not going to say they're still back in it, because they have 5.5 minutes to get 29 points, but it's still possible. But they're going for 2 on this one, as they send Macchiato into motion, and they run it up the gut, and they run it up the gut with Pruitt, but he is stopped at about the 1-yard line. So 48-19, but still Stevens is still showing some liveliness in the last 5.5 minutes of this game. So we'll be back after this kickoff and see how the rest of this game goes. Welcome back to Howard Wood Field for the last 5.5 minutes of this game as McHaffey kicks this off. And I don't know who that is exactly. They don't have Devlin McManus back there anymore. I believe that was Erickson. Erickson got a solid return. I think he's up to the 25 is where he got. Maybe the 24. 25, actually. He got to the 25. So, that was a solid return coming back from the, the 5 or so. So, it's a good return. I think that's one of the better ones that we've seen from a kickoff tonight, at least. So, they send DeVille back out, Erickson, and some of their other second-string guys, and they hand it off to Erickson, I think, up the gut. Maybe that's not Erickson. No, it's not. That was Dan Momatic. Danny Momatic, the sophomore who I believe he was in for Erickson that play. But he got him a yard or so on that one. So they have him in I formation with 2 on the far side, 1 on the near sideline. And they fake a handoff, and DeVille is immediately jumped on by number 60, Brenton Buss from Stevens. If you have a name like Brenton Buss, you gotta be a big fella, and he is. It is now 3rd and 12 or so. And they have about the same setup they've had most of this game. They do an option. And Dan Momatic ran that one again, and he is tackled at about the original line of scrimmage this time. So it's 4th down and 10. They're going to punt it again from their 25-yard line. So it's better than what they were in last time. They're not in their end zone. So let's see how McManus punts this, I guess. We'll see how far he gets this one. It's a good punt, and they say go for a fair catch. And that was caught by Nesbitt. So they'll start at their 42. The Raiders will start at their own 42-yard line here. They'll have 3.5 minutes to work with what they got and see how close they can get this score. So, if I'm correct, I think they still have Joe Weber in as the quarterback here. Yep, and he hands it off in a sweep to number 21, Zane Steffman, and he gets uprooted on the other sideline by one of Roosevelt's cornerbacks, I believe. So you got 3 minutes and 7 seconds left in the game, and your Rapid City Stevens. I don't know if you plan to try and get the score as close as possible, or if you try and plan to throw in your secondary guys maybe and get them some playing time. But they send a man into motion and hand it up the gut to, let me see who this is. This is I'm not sure who that is. They don't have a 33 on their roster, but they hand it to number 33. It's 35, excuse me. It was Ryan Brink. Looked like a 3. So they hand it off to Ryan Brink up the gut. He gets about 4 yards or so. And now they have Tripp set up on the far sideline. And Weber tries to take it up the gut. And he gets a first down off of it. So we they have a first down now with 2 minutes left basically, and they're on the 47. Set up an I formation with 2 split out, send a man in motion, and takes it. Joe Weber takes it and is still running. Are we going to see a repeat of what happened last time? No, he runs out of bounds at the 31. So they're making up ground and they're making it up very quickly, or they're making field. They're chewing up this field like nobody's business. So at this rate, they'll just keep chugging along at this, and they'll keep going with this because this has seemed to work out pretty well for them. Is just to have Joe Weber keep doing it. They send their man back in motion. They hand it right back to Joe, and he runs the opposite way like he did last time, and he gets tackled at the 22 or so by I think Tucker Large on the far side. So there's not a whole lot of time, a minute left on the clock. And second down and 2 on the 22. So send in another man in motion. And they do a sweep this time. They switch it up a little bit. I think they got the first down this time. Maybe they are on the line. Maybe it's 3rd and 1. Okay. So it's 3rd and 1.5 or so. They send same guy in motion, Steffman in motion, and try and run it. But I think they might have lost. Never mind, they fumbled. They fumbled on the play, and it's Roosevelt's ball now with 14 seconds left. So I'm guessing that they'll just take a knee, end it, call her a night. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they'll try and run a few plays. It looks like they're going to try and run a few plays. Looks like they have, since DeVille is in the backfield a little bit. He's in shotgun. But I could be wrong about that, too, for all I know. But it looks like they are maybe just going to, I don't know what they're doing, if they're just going to knee it, or if they're gonna, yep, they do knee it. So they are just gonna knee it, and that will close out the game. So with tonight's win, Roosevelt moves to 1-0 overall, and with the loss, Rapid City Stevens falls to 0-1. Both the Rough Riders and Raiders will be back in action next week. Roosevelt will face the Washington Warriors September 1st in the second game of the President's Bowl at Howard Wood. Will be at Spearfish on Friday. So once again, Sioux Falls Roosevelt defeats Rapid City Stevens 48-19. I'd like to say thanks for camera operators Ben Schumacher, Jeff Little, and Steve Johnson. Statisticians Brent Bowen, Dexter Payne, and Ken Morales. And I'm Eli Kadoon. Thank you for watching this broadcast of high school football on KLRN Sports. And I'll see you sometime later this year.